Hey everybody, and welcome back. In our last lesson, we put ahead our cover design, and in this lesson, we're going to go ahead and create this graphic here, which is a full page spread. We're going to learn things not only how to continue to lay out different text frames, but also how to work with things like paragraph styles and customize your justification. So let's go ahead and get started by going back to our Start Here file in which we created our awesome cover and just scrolling down with your mouse to the first spread. And if you look at your Pages tab, you're going to see that you have the spread here on page 2 and 3. And we're going to go ahead and just do some minor placement, kind of refreshing what we did in the first lesson. So let's go ahead and get that good old text frame tool. And I want to do a full page spread here of the UCF mascot Nitro at this art night event. And I want to go over the fold. So this line in the middle is what's referred to as our fold. And we're going to kind of cut it halfway between the fold and the margin on the one page, just so this will carry over, and we're going to pull it all the way out to kind of this red bleed around the edge. So once that's drawn out, we'll go ahead and hit import. We'll look for Nitro. We'll put it into place, and there we have it. Now you'll also notice we have some white space at the top. Well, we know what to do. We're going to double click, or we're going to right click and say fit, and then fill frame proportionally, and that's just going to scale it for us and give it a rather nice look. Now, I wanted to go over that center fold just nicely so it wasn't an awkward bend if this was ever printed and all of that great stuff. Finally, we're going to have 3 images here on the right, and for those, we're going to use the edge of our margin as well as this inner edge of our column guides. This is why column guides are so great. So let's go ahead and let's start drawing out our guides. Now, for this, I'm going to just kind of start above here, and I want to make sure that I'm on that line, and I can always adjust that later, which I'll do. And we're going to just go and we're going to draw our first image. But you'll notice as I draw, I won't know how much space to put in between them. Well, we can go ahead and add those guides. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and add, again, a number of guides here. We're going to add 4, and those are going to help us know where to place our elements. And in this case, we'll set them to the margins and hit OK. And let's draw. Now we have a little bit more of a literal guide that we can draw out. Our first text frame. We can hit the V key to go back to the move tool. And again, we're just picking up on stuff and adjust that first box. For our second box, we'll get that text frame and we'll leave this kind of alley right here, and we'll draw down to here. So to that top red line. This is why guides are so important. And then our final, we're going to use those guides and go all the way off the page. And now we know these are lined up, which makes things so much nicer. And then it's just about clicking, importing, and filling in the blank. So this image is obviously too large, so let's do fit, and let's do fit content to frame. And you can see it stretches the image a little bit, so let me hit my Control Z and try another option, maybe fill frame proportionally. That's a little bit nicer. I like that. Very cool. We'll go to this center element, right click, or I'm sorry, go to import for the center frame, and we'll choose the Drawing Studio image. And this one, we're going to double click, and let's find the handle and hold Shift and Alt. And let's just scroll this down. We want this gentleman's back to kind of just be right there on the edge, so we see them looking at some of the art. And again, I don't have to always right click and fill proportionally. I'm going to hold my space bar down and left click to activate my hand tool. Hit V on my keyboard again, and we'll double click in that third text frame, say import, and we're going to grab the stop motion image, right click, fitting, and we'll say fill frame proportionally. That looks good. Let's double click and let's scale out just so we see the stop motion set a little nicer. So we're going to kind of crop out that one person on the right just so we can kind of see the edge of this, and we'll just kind of nudge it into place. Now, that is really easy, and that's the power of InDesign, that we can go ahead and lay out something so quickly in a matter of seconds, where, if we try to place this without any guides, it could be a little more challenging. So now that we have our specifics and our goal set up here, let's move forward to the typography. Now, rather than just typing a large body of text, we want to start thinking about how to work smarter. So I know for a fact that my text is going to be roughly in these three columns. So column 1, column 2, and column 3. I don't know, though, how it's going to appear when I paste it in. So that's something we're going to have to kind of work through. So let's go ahead and do that. So now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and draw our text box out using our tool. Now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and use our text tool, and let's draw our text frame out. And I'm going to go a little bit above this image. We can adjust this as we go. And I'm going to just use those center 3 columns and draw that all the way to the bottom of the margin. That's going to give me my text frame. And I'm going to paste my body copy in there. So when I do that, you're going to see a few things. When I hit Control V and I paste it, it looks okay. It's not the right font yet. We didn't justify it. There's hyphens everywhere. We need to adjust this a little bit more. But we're going to do something called creating a paragraph style to do that. So we're going to hold tight on formatting that. The next text frame we want to draw is up here. And this is going to be the headline for this article. And that headline is Creativity Ignited. So I'm going to paste that from the supplied document and just get all my text into place. Now I can deal with formatting. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and set up our very first paragraph style. Paragraph styles are going to help you be consistent from page to page when it comes to things like headlines, headings, article titles, you name it, all that good stuff. So to do that, we're going to go to Window, and we're going to go to Styles, and we're going to look for Paragraph Styles. And we want to create a new style here for our paragraph. So I like to, just as a habit, you don't need to do this, but I like to highlight my paragraph style when I hit New, and I'm going to double click. And when I do that, it's going to give me some options. So I'm going to say body text of magazine. And now we get to use all of these features to adjust it. So think of this as like a different way to see the properties panel. But, we know we're using Georgia. That's important, right? So immediately Georgia comes into play, but it's too big. So we're going to double click in there just to show you. And we're going to go through our body text, and we're going to make this Georgia 11, which looks really good. I'm going to set my leading to something like 14. Again, it's going to apply it to all the text, so we're good there. And we're going to keep going down here, and we're going to turn off hyphenation. I'm not a big fan of that. We can always hit the preview button too, and you can see it's starting to come together. And then for justification, we'll get to that in a second, but let's just go back up. Do we need to shade the paragraph? No. Do we need to add a border? No. Do we have any tabs or indents? Well, indents, we definitely want to justify this, and we want to use the full justify option. And I'm going to click away just to show you something now, because we have a decent start, but we have another problem appear. Let's hit W so you can see it. You may notice that some of the text has bigger gaps than other elements between. So notice how tiny the gap for demonstrations and that is, but how large the word conversation and about is. This is known as a river. And to get rid of this, you need to customize your justification. Now, there's a really easy way to visualize this. And so I like to turn kind of more of a visual cue on. So I'm going to hit W again, because you can only see this in W mode. And I'm going to go to Edit Preferences. And we're going to go through Edit Preferences, and we're going to look for, let's see, Composition. And we're going to turn on H and J violations. And when I hit OK, that's going to highlight text that needs the fixing of the justification or the spacing. So the darker yellow it is in this case, the more work it's going to be. And you can even see, look how big the gap is in the word offering. So this allows me a visual cue to go back to that that text style here and go to justification and start making some changes. So I can adjust things like the word spacing to have a min and a max value. So here I want maybe 150 to be my max value. And as I start changing these values, it's going to start changing the amount of yellow on my screen. And this is really a trial and error thing. So, as I enter these min and max numbers, so we want things to be 0%, but we can give them a nudging point essentially of 3 or -7 in either direction. This is just allowing me to go in here and change these elements. And the more I change and the more I adjust, the more it's going to allow me to fix until, check that out, y'all, everything goes away and our text is perfectly nice. So this is an acceptable readable level. We can hit OK. And the next time we draw any sort of paragraph text, we're going to be perfectly fine because we're going to have that ready to go. So let's do the same thing with our heading text here. So let's add a new one and we'll call this, double click, we'll call this article heading. And we'll go back through and we're going to go to maybe 14. That looks really great. We have case, we'll do all caps. We will go to the different paragraph borders, rules, shadings, hyphenation. We'll turn that off. That's looking nice. And maybe we'll come back here to the leading and we'll pull the leading together. So that looks great as well. And let's see. So again, we're just going through the settings. Let's do right. Let's look at what full justify looks like. That looks a little better actually now that we've readjusted it. So now we can go back into the justification and start playing with the elements. So the word spacing looks okay. Let's try just upping some values in here. And this at times can be a guessing game, and it will give you little hints like that. It will say, hey, you can't go beyond that. So we'll type -7. That looks really good. And we'll type maybe 3 here. There we go. That's looking really nice. Once we made the changes in letter spacing, that worked out rather nicely. Let's hit OK so we can save it and use that on all our different articles. And let's take a quick look of what we're looking at. We have a really nice title and article. Now, one thing I want to do is kind of lower this just to be a little closer. This is called law of proximity. Sometimes having these as close, a little closer to each other can help kind of connect that they're from the same element. And there you have it, a really nice formatted text. And maybe we want to add a little more flair here. So let's play with something like a drop cap. So let's have some fun. And let's select the E. And a drop cap is when we just have a large capital letter. And I'm going to go in here and type 4. That looks really good. And we're going to click away and check that out, y'all. Just with a few clicks of a button, we have everything. And we always want to double check that, the lines look good. If we hit W, it will tell us with that yellow if we mess something up. But that is this little icon right here. We just selected the letter E, highlighted it, and just did the drop cap number of lines. We dropped it 4 lines below. So once again, great stuff. All right, final thing we want to do is we want to get our text tool again. We want to draw a lovely kind of text element here on the side. So let's do that. I'll use this bar here, and we're going to type in all caps, and we're going to use our Dharma text again. Let's go back to that Dharma Gothic X bold, and we're going to type Art Night 2025. Let's turn on our shading, and let's play with the justification. Right now, that's a bit much. We're going to change this, but we're going to make this a heck of a lot bigger. So let's make this really large, this text. And if it's never working, you can always select it. And let's really scale this up. And we're almost going to fill that whole container. That's our goal. Awesome. That looks pretty good. So what do I have it at? A 108. Very nice. All right. So we have Art Night 2025. And we can go ahead and, there's other options for the text, but I'm kind of liking the extra bold. We're kind of going off of a little bit of what we were doing in the initial example, but that's okay. So Dharma Gothic extra bold 108 looks great. We have the shading clicked. Let's alt click or option click on the shading box, and let's add maybe some rounded corners. So we'll do a drop down and select it to rounded, and then we'll use the up arrows to round our corners just a bit. And that's going to kind of round these out as we go. Hit the preview, because if you don't, you'll have it what I just did. So we need to go a little lower than this. There we go. And we may need to extend this a little bit because that little edge is rounded. So I want the right side to be a little longer. But if I do that, if I uncheck this and I do that, I can just pull that off so we don't see that rounded corner there. But this is looking really good. And we could set, the different edges. There's a lot of options. I just want to show you these even though we're not using them. It's just going to change how it looks. I'm going to keep mine to the ascender, the top of it. We could clip to the frame. That's going to give us kind of a bottom point without one. That's kind of neat looking, but we're going to just keep it as is with these settings. So 0.125, we set them to rounded, we unlinked and just made that a little longer and hit OK. And there you have it. Let's hit W. We have a little bit of overhang, so that's easy. We can just nudge that in and make sure it makes sense, and maybe even move it up just a little bit more so we see our mascot ever so nicely. And there it is. So the final step in this is for you to go ahead and design your own layout using your own original artwork, not fan art, not copywritten work. Pick something nice from class, pick something artistic that you created, write a little bit about it. So have things like paragraphs or article titles. Make a spread about you as an artist and your artwork as matching all of our different styles in this magazine. And the final touches that we're going to do is we're going to actually add page numbers and talk about export now for the very final step. So once you lay out your spread and you've completed and matched the spreads I've created, you're going to make sure you go to your pages. Let's open this up and just drag these down. And I want you to double click and we're going to add page numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and just click and draw a box, and we're going to do like a hashtag for now. And we want these to be, we'll use the Dharma for this one, and we want them to be slightly bigger. There we go. And one of the things with page numbers, they're actually really easy to do. You do these in the parent slides or the parent pages. And so once we start creating things like this, we can go ahead and fill with a special character. So here you can see we have tons of characters we can fill this in with. If I highlight that page number and I go to special characters, now I have current page number. So I'll hit that. And that's just going to give you a placeholder again. I'm going to hold Alt and I'm going to drag this over because I want it into a similar position on the other one. You may need to zoom out a little bit. There we go. And we'll grab that. You want to make sure you're clicking on the element. There we go. Now, at any point, go ahead and use your ruler guidelines here. I'm going to put mine just so it falls right here on the edge. And I'm going to move that one down to the edge as well. And now it doesn't look like much. You're probably saying, well, why is there a letter A? What's going on there? We'll center that up into the margin. We'll center that up into the margin. But if I click here now, I want you to see I have a page number. Now, the page number over here is to the back. We'll fix that in a second. But even the other pages we haven't done have page numbers. Awesome. Our cover has a page number, and we want to get rid of that. So an easy way to do that is to essentially go to that page, and we want to kind of deactivate that. So if you have a page number that you're looking at that is a little messy, you're going to get your move tool and you're going to go ahead and hold Control and Shift and double click, and that's going to select just that one, and then you can hit delete. So Control and Shift or Command and Shift on a Mac, that helps as well. You can do a similar thing here for the page number behind this. So if we move that page number right there and we double click, it's going to kind of pull it away from the master page. So something to keep in mind. And then you can use your layers to kind of pull that page number on and off. So now that page number can be dragged to the very top, on top of your image. There you have it. Just make sure you move your actual image back into place. Awesome. All right, so we'll just nudge that just over ever so slightly. But see, now it's on the page. So that, again, Command Shift, Control Shift, that's going to be the way to do it. Things are looking great. Everything is high res. We have really good elements. You're going to fill in this part, but once you do fill this in, the next step is to export. So File, Export. You're going to name it your file, that is, use the naming convention in the assignment page. So I'm going to just call mine Finish for now, but you're going to use the naming convention, and we're going to hit Save. I want you to do a few things here. I want you to set it to high quality print and export as spreads. That is very important. Do not change anything else. Hit export. And remember, you're going to fill in this page, but when you do, you're going to have a high-res magazine with dynamic page spreads ready to go. So there you have it, y'all. Go ahead, follow along to build the first page and the first spread, and then show me within the same style guidelines what you can do creating a spread that's all about you as an artist. As always, remember to follow those written directions. Remember to follow all the written naming conventions. And I hope you got out of this a lot about how you can use InDesign in your own work to create some dynamic publication layouts. All right, everybody, look forward to seeing the results and see you in the next lesson.